SVG wins, Ty Dillon advances, and, well, we've got another break in the 2311 Front Row Motorsports versus NASCAR ongoing legal saga, so let's get into all of it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, first things first, newest thing before we get to the actual race. Let's talk about 2311 and Front Row Motorsports' case against NASCAR because we've got a new development. This from Adam Stern. 2311 and Front Row Motorsports in court today. Since the fourth court's decision, NASCAR has signaled its intention to immediately move to sell or issue plaintiffs' charters to other entities, putting plaintiffs in irreparable jeopardy of never getting their charters back and going out of business. So basically, to clarify what's going on here, since the injunction was lifted by the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals here, NASCAR now has full control of those charters since 2311 and Front Row Motorsports are no longer chartered teams for this season, and NASCAR has announced to those teams their intentions to sell those charters to presumably put pressure onto 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. And because of this, 2311 and Front Row Motorsports have filed yet another appeal to, hold up this process. And basically, where we go from here, who knows? But let's look at the three possible scenarios, three possible outcomes that could happen from this. Starting with the first one, let's say NASCAR does sell off all of these charters. Let's say everything, goes NASCAR's way and NASCAR decides that they want to sell off all these charters. Well, any team that wants to buy these charters could buy them. Would they buy them? That is another question altogether. They might not want to rock the boat. They might not want to do this to another team or something like that. But then there's going to be maybe 2311 has some enemies. RCR didn't like the way that the Tyler Reddick deal went down. Maybe Richard Childress says, hey, you know what? You screwed us on the Tyler Reddick deal. We'll have one of those sweet charters from you. Anything could happen like that, and this is all speculatory. I just want to be clear about that. I'm just saying, in a situation like that, what if a team does decide to buy these charters? That could be one way it goes. I don't think it will go that way, but I'm just throwing it out there. The other, of course, a direction it could go is NASCAR just decides to sit on the charters until after all this is settled legally and just basically holds the money in escrow. That could be one thing that NASCAR possibly does about it. But since NASCAR has already signaled that they want to, sell the charters, I don't necessarily think that that is a likely scenario. And also, of course, 2311 could win the deal and possibly, get the just basically get the thing put on hold. And this last scenario, where 2311 wins this appeal, I think this is probably the most likely scenario. I think the courts are going to take a look at this and say, you know what, we're just going to put all of this over here and put it on hold, put it on, freeze the assets, put it in escrow, whatever you want to call it. They're going to hold all of these assets and they're just going to put them over here in the corner until all of this legal drama, all of this legal mess is settled. And most likely, to me, that is probably what's going to happen. Everything will just be frozen until all of this mess and all of this situation happens. But yeah, there you go. That is the latest. Now let's get to the actual race that happened on Sunday because it's way more fun to talk about. I don't know if you guys are. I'm already kind of just really tired of the whole legal thing. I'm ready for it to actually go to trial. We're not even in trial yet, and I'm exhausted. Eric Jones, Austin Cindric, Chase Briscoe. All of those drivers just got passed in his rookie season by Shane Van Gisbergen, who now has 4 wins and moves into the top 100 all-time winners of NASCAR. In fact, he is in a 18-way tie. He is tied with 18 other drivers, including active driver Ricky Stenhouse Jr. So there you go. 4 wins, already up to 88th on the all-time list in his rookie season. What SVG is doing is nothing short of remarkable, and it's remarkable for all kinds of reasons because he currently also sits 26th in points with 3 wins, but that doesn't matter in this particular playoff system, and that's kind of where I wanted to hop off here because him winning this race, that is actually my big takeaway from it. And don't get me wrong, we're going to look at points all the way through this, but I wanted to make this point. This is almost another perfect scenario to absolutely blow up this point system. What if SVG can advance past the first round? Because I feel like that's going to probably be his toughest round. But if he can advance past the first round, he would be the perfect person to spoil and upset this particular current playoff system. He would be the ultimate spoiler as far as that goes, and I think it would be absolutely perfect. He's not the hero we deserve, but he's definitely the hero we get, or maybe he's not the hero we wanted, but he's the hero we deserve, however you want to look at it. But either way, I'm pumped up, and as it currently stands, because I don't like the way the current playoffs are formatted, I'm pulling for SVG to just run the table and get the complete and total upset this season and become, in his rookie year, the champion. Do I think that will happen? No. But I'm pulling for it to happen because I'm just not a fan of the current structure of this playoff system. I'm not against necessarily a playoffs, although I would prefer season-long points. But if you're going to have a playoff, let's have a playoff that is better than what we have now. And I do think that NASCAR will change it for next season. But for this season, I want to see it get blown up. Speaking of blowing things up, Ty Dillon blew up Alex Bowman there and blew up brackets there on the last lap here in Sonoma. He moved Alex Bowman out of the way for the sole reason of getting $1 million because he said $1 million means a lot to them. So he moved Alex Bowman out of the way. He said if $1 million wasn't on the line, he wouldn't have done what he did. So there you go. One driver keeping an eye on the bracket challenge, and the 30-something seed, Ty Dillon, getting in there and making noise. He has made it all the way to the Final Four with John Hunter Nemechek, Tyler Reddick, and who was the other one there? Ty Gibbs, I think. I don't know. Look it up. I'm not paying any attention to the brackets other than the fact that, Ty Dillon, if he can win it, or if John Hunter Nemechek can win it, I do feel like that will completely blow up the bracket, and this will probably be the last time we hear about the bracket challenge after this season. This season might be the last time we hear about it anyway, because I don't really feel like a ton of people are following along with it. DraftKings might be getting a lot of action on it, but I don't think, honestly, anybody else, other than people that are doing DraftKings type things, are paying much attention to it. Except for, Ty Dillon, who he wants $1 million. I mean, that's reasonable, right? But moving people out of the way, and the drama didn't stop there because teammates Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez got into it. A lot of people were saying Joey Logano brake checked both of them. I think they were Daniel Suarez was mirror driving. He drove it into the corner too hard, and Ross Chastain had already committed to the inside because he thought he was going to have an opening on the inside. Either way, they made contact. Daniel Suarez said during the race, he better hope I don't get to him during this race because Daniel Suarez was planning to pay it back. I do think things will be smoothed over after this race. I don't think anything will come from that, but that was one incident. Another incident that we need to take a look at was Carson Hocevar and Josh Berry. Josh Berry, make no mistake about it, even called out by his good friend Dale Jr. on the broadcast. He said there's not much you can say about that. Josh Berry, sent the 77 there. So Josh Berry intentionally wrecked the 77. I saw a lot of people online talking about NASCAR said there's a zero tolerance policy for intentionally wrecking, which that was very clear that was an intentional wreck there after, of course, the Austin Dillon incident. So we will see what happens going forward. I don't think there will be a suspension because NASCAR does seem to have a double standard for a lot of reasons, but definitely a double standard on road courses, I would say. So I don't think we're going to see a suspension or anything like that, but definitely Josh Berry did that on purpose, but not the most sympathetic subject because the object of it was Carson Hocevar, who has ruffled several feathers this season, no doubt about it. So only seeing that aspect of it and not seeing what preceded it and all of that, I doubt Carson Hocevar, in a lot of people's minds, is going to get the benefit of the doubt. But that was another thing that I saw, at least on social media, that people were keeping track of the intentional wreck, essentially, of Carson Hocevar. So all the people that don't like Carson Hocevar, Josh Berry, the first driver to actually pay it back on the track. All right, those were all of the major incidents that I kept track of. There you go. Shane Van Gisbergen gets the win. Chase Briscoe finishing in second. Said he was proud of that second place finish because he didn't think he had anything, basically paraphrasing here, for SVG. Chase Elliott with a nice third place finish there. Good call from crew chief Alan Gustafson to get him fresh tires and get him up to that third place. If he hadn't have run off course, maybe he had a shot at Chase Briscoe. Michael McDowell, another guy that benefited from that late caution, gets up to fourth place. Christopher Bell in fifth place here. Tyler Reddick, a nice sixth place finish. Ty Gibbs in seventh place. Then you've got William Byron, Joey Logano, and Kyle Busch. And Kyle Busch in the 10th place, once again rallying to get that 10th place finish. Had a good car here today. And after the self-spin, he was able to right the ship and get that nice 10th place finish, which is going to be big, important for him as far as the points go. Brad Keselowski, Ryan Preece, Josh Berry, Daniel Suarez, and Justin Haley round out your top 15. A good run for Brad Keselowski there in 11th. His best run on a road course in quite some time. I can't remember what the statistic was on TV, but Brad Keselowski, that probably is not the thing that people most remember about this race, because Brad Keselowski and Ty Gibbs got into a little bit of a controversy as Ty Gibbs was coming in, and Brad Keselowski, who was pitted right behind him, was coming in right behind him. Ty Gibbs came in and clipped the tire changer a little bit, or at least the tire, not the tire changer, but the tire that the tire carrier, I should say, was holding, clipped him as he was going into his pit stall. The angle from TNT, once again, much like the Bubba Wallace versus Alex Bowman last week at Chicago, the angle that TNT gave us originally made it look way more egregious than it was, and also, given the circumstances that Ty Gibbs had gotten into it with the 17 car, an RFK teammate, a lot of people were pointing at, Ty Gibbs did that on purpose because he was mad about what happened out there on track with the 17. However, when you got an overhead view of the situation later, honestly, it just looked like Ty Gibbs was going into his pit like normal, and the tire carrier was standing just slightly wide, trying to get that little bit of extra advantage. He was either standing a little wide or went a little bit early. Everybody on the broadcast said it. Dale Jr., Steve Letarte basically said it looked like a normal pit stop to them. And then if you watch the NASCAR post-race on YouTube on the NASCAR.com channel, Kyle Petty even said the same thing. That's on the tire carrier. Kyle Petty, for those who don't remember, before he was a driver, actually carried tires for the King back in the day. He said he got hit numerous times, and Dale Inman had to pull him aside, and I thought this was great insight, had to pull him aside and said, that guy is just trying to pit. He's not trying to hit you. In fact, he's not really paying attention to you. It's your job not to get hit. And that's basically, as hard as this is to take for a lot of people, that's kind of where the tire changer tire carrier in this situation needs to have his head. Look, Ty Gibbs didn't do anything egregious there. He didn't intentionally hit you. You were standing wide, and you went just a little bit early as far as that goes because the car was coming in. He nicked the tire. It wasn't anything egregious. I don't think there's anything to write home about. Of course, RFK, big on social media. They've been pounding the drum all day, but from my perspective, Ty Gibbs was just going in there normally, and it was just one of those things. He touched the tire just barely. Like if Ty Gibbs wanted to hit him, Ty Gibbs would have made a way more egregious move, but Ty Gibbs looked like a normal pit to me. That being said, there's a lot of people that don't like Ty Gibbs, so they're going to disagree with that for the sole fact that they don't like Ty Gibbs. But if you look at the overhead view, the way Ty Gibbs came in there looked pretty normal if you take a look at the overhead shot. Okay, so obviously that was bad race. John Hunter Nemechek here in 28th advances over teammate Eric Jones. So even though he had a bad race, he advances in the bracket challenge over teammate Eric Jones by one position here. But also a bad race here for Kyle Larson, who was going for that regular season title. Once again, a poor finish on a road course. He was wrecked there at the end. I never got a good, clear look at it. And then we've already mentioned here in 32nd position, Carson Hocevar, getting sent by Josh Berry. So there you go. Those are all of your bad races as far as that goes. Speaking of those points with Kyle Larson, William Byron continues to lead the regular season points and the bonus points that go with that should he win it. In fact, this was a day to stop the bleeding because he got that good finish. Chase Elliott now minus 14. Kyle Larson now minus 44 with that poor finish. Minus 53 to Tyler Reddick. And then Denny Hamlin minus 62. Christopher Bell minus 71. And then Ryan Blaney, of course, with his poor performance because basically he got taken out. I shouldn't say poor performance, but he got taken out there at the end as well. He is now minus 123, so he is out of it. But these other guys, I think, legitimately, with the races remaining, could get back into it. If William Byron has trouble, Chase Elliott can still just point his way in there. That's the regular season. However, we crowned a champion with a playoff, and this is what the playoff picture looks like as it stands right now. Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, and Shane Van Gisbergen with 3 wins would be 1 through 4 on that list. There are your previous drivers that have won a race all the way to the 12th position. And then 13th here, Tyler Reddick plus 149 on the cut line. He has a lot of points to play with there, but if a lot of people beneath him win, he could be in trouble with the races remaining. Then you got Chris Buescher, Alex Bowman, and Bubba Wallace at plus 3 on the cut line. First man out would be Ryan Preece, then Kyle Busch minus 37. He closed the gap a little bit with this good finish today. AJ Allmendinger minus 50, Ty Gibbs minus 60, and Eric Jones minus 68. A lot of those drivers in that mix good at road courses, and a lot of those drivers in that mix good at super speedways. However, being good at a road course doesn't seem to matter right now because as good as guys can be on a road course, Shane Van Gisbergen is head and shoulders at this moment above these guys on road courses and street courses. All right, that's going to do it for this one. Until the next one, thanks for your time. Peace.